We had a $1.4 billion singular dark pool print hit the tape the other day, and I believe that it was a sell on the way up. And typically, these types of prints are a precursor to a very large move, depending on if they were a buy or a sell. So today, I'm going to explain how we can use this data to help us with our trading setup and potentially get a lot of downside and a lot of percent on those puts. So I'm going to start right away. So I have this $1.4 billion dark pool print on my chart right here, and I believe, like I said earlier, this was a sell. And basically, if we look back on where this occurred, it happened at May 31st. That was yesterday. You can see here 970 million in premium at this level. There was another 400 million, a few cents over. I think it was 412.81 instead of the 412.79. So I just used it all together because it came around the same time within like 5 minutes of each other, and it is basically the same level on there. So that's why I put 1.4 billion. This is very important because it is a singular dark pool print. If you look up here, we had 1.8 billion of premium at this 415 level. However, this was a signature print, which those prints are delayed by design. These are coming off of like European exchanges, so they come they can come up to 24 hours after the print actually occurred. I emphasize a lot more weight on singular prints because these, especially if they're over a billion, tend to be a precursor, like I said earlier, to a very large move. So as I said, I believe it's a sell. And there's two scenarios that can play out with this data. So I have it up here. You can see it's like right above here. It actually worked as a resistance today, which is pretty interesting. But if I go to SPX, which is what I like to typically chart off of, you can see today we actually had a perfect bounce off that retest of the wedge. We did post on our Twitter account. I did play this one and got about 50 points on this intraday, which is a very nice trade. Happy with that one. However, this is setting up for a interesting day tomorrow on Thursday. So basically, we are in a mini pennant right now. We have the top of the pennant, and then the wedge from before all the way down here is acting as the bottom of the pennant. So depending on the gap, if we gapped below this level, that'd be bearish. If we gapped above this level, that'd be bullish. However, we know it's not that easy, so they're probably going to gap it right in the middle. That's just how the market works at this point. They're making it pretty hard on everybody. So they're probably gapping it in the middle, or basically no gap at all. And what's going to happen is it's going to test either of these sides during the day, and eventually it's going to break above or below, and that's when I'm going to take my trade. So the two scenarios that I have playing out, because we know that there's a potential sell around this level roughly in the SPX equivalent because of that dark pool print, typically we see a little bit of consolidation or maybe even a fake out upwards after a very large print occurs on SPY. And I've been tracking these for a very long time. And there's typically actually a fake out to the upside of sells and to the downside of buys before the move actually occurs, like the desired move that these people are looking for. So there is a potential tomorrow that we open up about in the middle here, and we actually break above this yellow line that I have right here and continue up way higher into this supply zone that I had previously. You can see right here, I have not changed this supply zone at all. If I go to the daily chart, this is the one that I showed you guys in the weekly recap video like 2 days ago. This supply zone worked perfectly. I drew it out for you guys in that video, and right to the tick fell off of that for a little bit of downside. However, if we go back to the 15-minute chart, I do believe there is potential for us to climb a little bit higher before falling down lower afterwards. So we could see all the way up to like 4,200, like 20. Roughly, that's the top of this supply zone. Would not be surprised at all. Remember, the market likes to make it very hard on us. So I would not be surprised to see this to the upside. Now, could it go straight down? By all means, yes, for sure. Remember, both scenarios can play out. The market is dynamic, and that's what I want you guys to understand, because I can't predict with 100% certainty any direction that it can go. However, you can use me as an indicator for potential setups and potential paths that the market can go, and then play accordingly off of those. So, like I said, we could go up off of this, maybe top out around 4,220 roughly, around there. Then I'm going to be interested to see how hard we get rejected. If this is the case that we do get rejected off of here, we actually could see a potential head and shoulders pattern, which I will draw for you right here. Basically, this would be part of our shoulder right here. This would be the left shoulder. If we did go all the way up till here, it's actually very fitting that we could have the head, and then potential fall off of that, and we could have maybe a shoulders over here. So Again, I don't know if this is what's going to happen. We'll see. But if we do go all the way up to the top of my supply zone, this is a very likely scenario that I see happening on the market because I do believe this to be a sell, along with the fact that we see a lot of fake outs after these large prints or singular prints. And then also this is just a good setup because we have already a left shoulder here if we were making a head up there. So just some scenarios to play out. You can play around with these on your own chart. I'll definitely keep you guys updated in the Discord, but I just wanted to give you guys a reference on what could occur here. Also, another thing with my thesis of potential downside is we had a ton of puts this week so far. If I go to SPY today and filter for over 1 million, which is what I like to do typically, just to get a sense on what big money's doing, you can see here crazy prints, 2.6 million for this 389 strike. This is for 617. That's like within the next 3 weeks, so that's very bearish here. 7.6 million for this 388, which we saw a lot of 388 strikes getting hit today with a ton of premium. This is a lot. 7.6 million, even 8.7 million right here for that 388. These are both for July, and as I shared with you guys in the weekly recap video, we're seeing a lot of these July orders hit the tape. It seems like they're rolling a lot of the 617s for a little bit further because, as like I was sharing in the weekly recap, there's some potential that we have some chop around this range. If we have this head and shoulders, this would be pretty choppy. Even if we don't have the head and shoulders pattern, it still is probably consolidating around here before a drop down, which I did share with you in that video. I expect a consolidation prior to a move downward. It wasn't like we're just going to have a blow off top of this rally. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff in terms of put flow here. These are above the ask, so that shows a lot of urgency. So you can see here the price they bought these at was 76, and the ask was at 775. We've seen some even further above the ask before, and just tons of put flow coming in. So this has been pretty consistent. Same thing with VIX as well, and that's another thing I like to track. We had a $6.2 million in premium print for the 60 strike. That's pretty bearish on the market because remember, when VIX goes up, the market tends to go down with that volatility. So we do have to be very, very careful coming up here. See what happens, see if it bases around this level. The more we consolidate around this level and the more we can't get over this 4,220 roughly zone, that top of the supply zone, the more bearish I will get on this setup. But as always, we're going to look for our best risk reward setups. And last thing I do want to share with you guys is an update on my Apple chart, which I shared with you guys in the weekly recap video. This is a perfect head and shoulder on the 15-minute and also a perfect rejection of this level. So this is a very, very nice short setup with optimal risk reward. Remember, we have the bottom of the previous channel here and the top of the previous channel over here, and we had a clean rejection for 2 days in a row off of this level. Plus, if I go back to the 15-minute chart right here, we have a perfect head and shoulders intraday on this thing. So if I go right there, we have, it's actually not necessarily perfect, but still pretty good. So you can see here we have the left shoulder, and then we have the top one, and you get the point after this. So this is a very bearish setup with good risk reward. Our stop, if you were to short something like this, would be a daily close above this level. If you want to put a little bit less into this trade, which would probably be more ideal because it's been a bit more volatile, you could say a weekly close above this level would be your stop, because we only have 2 days left in the week, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. If we have a weekly close above here, I'll cut short positions, and you're not going to lose that much on that. So, and this is also another thing. Apple is one of the largest holdings in the market, so this is pretty bearish for the market in general if this thing does fall off of this retest. So I love this short setup right here. And yeah, just going back to this print on here, we need to see how it goes throughout the supply zone that we have, because we're in a lot of junk over here. If we made it above the supply zone for some reason, it would probably end up going to like 438, but I don't expect that to happen. As always, you need to make sure your risk is intact. Risk reward is always needs to be optimal. So we just have to be ready for anything. But like I said with my XPX, as of now, I expect this to stay below this level. And this is kind of where we're at in terms of the downward channel. So yeah, other than that, appreciate you guys watching this video, and I'll see you guys around the chat and see you guys in the next video.